Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com, and welcome to the Palmetto State Baseball Podcast for May 29th, 2023. This is part of my coverage of college baseball in South Carolina at PalmettoStateBaseball.com and on Twitter using the handle PalmettoBase. You can contact me at rudyjones at PalmettoStateBaseball.com with email. My website and the coverage are totally free, and I guarantee you that you'll get your money's worth. If you like my podcast and other coverage of college baseball in South Carolina, please become a follower and invite others to listen to and like the podcast too. Listener interaction helps me determine what kind of following I have. I apologize for being a little late with the podcast this week. I went out of town to the SEC tournament and forgot to pack a microphone. After the Gamecocks were eliminated, we went to another couple of places to spend some time away. So now this is going to serve both as my podcast for last week and replace my Sunday night video wrap-up. My operating budget wouldn't cover the cost of a replacement microphone on the road. I hope you've got a diet cheerwine or some other soft drink with you because this podcast is going to be a long one. There's a lot to cover. The big news is that Clemson, Coastal Carolina, and South Carolina all were named to host first-round regionals in the NCAA Division I baseball playoffs. Clemson is the fourth seed with Coastal Carolina 10th and South Carolina 15th. Clemson continues to be red hot. The Tigers rolled to the ACC Tournament Championship, going 4-0 in the tournament and improving their winning streak to 16 games. Clemson is 43-17 after a 17-14 start. That is pretty good. The Tigers are in a regional with Lipscomb on Friday as the regional opener at 1 o'clock. Tennessee and Charlotte are the other two teams involved that will be playing later in the day. I believe it's at 6. Tennessee is the second seed in the region, Charlotte third, and Lipscomb fourth. Clemson is 26-3 in its last 29 games. They've raised the team batting average almost 20 points during that surge, now hitting .308 as a team. Billy Amick is hitting .412 with 12 homers and 58 RBI in spite of not playing in 17 games. Freshman center fielder Cam Canarella has flirted with 400 much of the season. He's right now at .386. Will Taylor is at .362, Cooper Ingle at .336. Caden Grice is hitting .302 with 16 homers and 63 RBIs, and Benjamin Blackwell is hitting .300. Both Blackwell and Canarella are over 40 stolen bases. Grice's pitching numbers have steadily improved. He is 8-1. He's got a .325 ERA and 91 strikeouts in 69 2/3 innings. He's making a strong run to be the John Olerud 2A Player of the Year candidate, or winner, I should say, in the country. Eric Bakich becomes the fifth consecutive Clemson coach to win an ACC championship in his first season. He joins Bob Smith, Bill Wilhelm, Jack Leggett, and Monty Lee. Bakich also won the Big Ten title at Michigan last season. Lipscomb is 36-24 and won the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament. The Bisons went 1-5 against NCAA tournament teams, with that win coming at Arkansas. The Bison hit .247 as a team, but hit 106 home runs and stole 99 bases in 60 games. The staff ERA is 5.06, but pitchers are averaging more than a strikeout per inning, and they have allowing a .236 team batting average. By the way, Clemson is 16-8 against NCAA tournament teams this year. I forgot to mention that earlier. Charlotte is 34-26 and won the Conference USA tournament. The 49ers are coached by former North Carolina pitcher Robert Woodard. The Niners went 6-9 against tournament teams, including a 2-game sweep of South Carolina. Charlotte lost at Clemson earlier in this season. Cam Fisher leads the 49ers with a .352 batting average, 30 home runs, and 64 RBIs. The Niners are batting .265 as a team, and they have 97 home runs. The pitchers have a .495 ERA, and they're striking out a little bit more than a batter per inning. Tennessee was expected to be among the nation's top teams this season after a strong 2022, but the Vols had a miserable start. A big rally in the late innings of a series opener with Vanderbilt led to an extra inning win, a series sweep, and that kick-started the Vols, who finished 38-19. Tennessee went 13-10 against NCAA Division tournament teams. Jared Dickey leads 5 Vols, hitting over .300 with a .343 mark. Tennessee also has 5 players with 12 or more homers, and they've got 114 as a team. The staff ERA is 3.68. Tennessee is striking out almost 12 batters per 9 innings. The Clemson Regional, the Tigers' number 4 seed, as I said, they're paired with the Auburn Regional winner for the Super Regional round. Auburn, Southern Mississippi, Sanford, and Pennsylvania are the entrants in that tournament, and that's their seeding in that order. Auburn, as I said, is 13th seed in the tournament. While Coastal Carolina lost to Louisiana twice in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament semifinals on Saturday and got eliminated, the Chanticleers' body of work's been strong. They finished the season at 39-19. They've earned the number 10 national seed and will play Rider in a first-round game at 7 o'clock Friday at Springsbrook Stadium on the Grand Strand. Second seed Duke and third seed UNC Wilmington complete that bracket, and they meet at 1 on Friday. Coastal is hitting .310 as a team. It's hit 100 homers and 85 stolen bases. Peyton Eels has a .379 batting average as has stolen 40 bases. Derek Bender leads the team with 18 homers and 80 RBI. Chanticleers have a .617 ERA, but they're outscoring opponents by almost 2 runs per game. Closer Teddy Sharkey has been lights out for much of the season. He has a 2.68 ERA and 69 strikeouts in 47 innings. Liam Doyle has been given some strong outings for the Chants down the stretch. Coastal went 10-10 against tournament teams this year. Rider at 25-19 won the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference tournament, beating top seed Fairfield twice. The Broncos went 3-3 against tournament teams this year. Rider has a .268 team batting average and a .421 staff ERA. Duke is 35-21, going 16-13 in the ACC. Blue Devils have a .280 team batting average with 95 homers and 66 stolen bases. They've got 6 players with 10 or more homers. The staff ERA is 4.04, and they had 617 strikeouts and 501 in the third innings. The Blue Devils went 13-13 against tournament teams. UNCW won the Colonial Athletic Association's conference, regular season, and tournament titles, and they went 9-10 against tournament teams this year. The Seahawks are batting .299 as a team, with Jack Kroom at .363 leading the way. They've hit 70 home runs. The Seahawks have a 5.58 staff ERA. The winner of the regional in Conway is paired with the winner of the regional hosted by number 7 Virginia up in Charlottesville. The Cavaliers play Army in the first round. Greenville High product Braden Galinsky is one of the Black Knights' top players. East Carolina and Oklahoma complete the lineup in Charlottesville. I was shocked South Carolina was named a regional host, even though it has the same 39-19 record as Coastal. Carolina's gone 5-13 in its last 18 games. USC's RPI has been among the best in the nation most of the year, but I really thought the NCAA Selection Committee would award a regional to another school, such as Boston College or Campbell, and make USC travel as a number 2 seed. Carolina meets Central Connecticut State at 7 o'clock on Friday in a first-round game, with number 2 Campbell and number 3 NC State completing the field and playing at 1 o'clock. USC went 14-17 against NCAA tournament teams. Coach Mark Kingston said on Monday he expects several players to be back after some injury issues. All SEC catcher Cole Messina missed the final game of the conference tournament as a precaution after taking a foul ball to the front of his catcher's helmet. Kingston said Messina did not have a concussion. Messina, one of the team's leaders, is second on the team with a .311 batting average and has hit 17 home runs. Kingston also said Braylon Wimmer should be back at shortstop after missing a few games and being relegated to DH duties after that because of a hamstring injury. But to me, Wimmer appeared to be far from full speed running the bases in the SEC tournament. Maybe he was just being extra cautious. A healthy Wimmer could mean Michael Braswell could move over to second base, where Will Tippett has a sub-200 batting average for most of the season. How have things been for the Gamecocks offensively lately? In that SEC tournament loss to Texas A&M, Tippett entered hitting under 200, and he was the number 6 batter. After a solid all-around outing in the SEC tournament against Georgia, USC's offense went into hibernation again and losses to LSU and Texas A&M. I will say Carolina was snake-bit in the loss to the Aggies. A&M outfielders made tremendous diving catches on back-to-back plays to rob USC batters of extra bases. Meanwhile, a potential inning-ending out in a scoreless game for the Aggies turned into an RBI triple when Carolina's Evan Stone dropped the ball after hitting the center field wall hard. Only with Tippett's infield single prevented the Gamecocks from being no-hit against the Aggies. Kingston also said that one-time frontline starter Will Sanders should be available for duty out of the bullpen as he returns from an injury issue this weekend. Despite some struggles down the stretch, freshman right fielder Ethan Petrie leads Carolina with a .376 batting average, 22 home runs, and 72 RBI. USC already has set a school record with 571 batter strikeouts. The Gamecocks have hit 110 homers. The staff ERA is 4.20, which is decent, and the pitchers are striking out more than 10 batters per 9 innings. The rotation for this weekend is likely to come from among Jack Mahoney, Eli Jones, James Hicks, and Matthew Becker. Central Connecticut State is 36-12 and won the Northeast Conference Tournament. The Blue Devils went 0-3 against NCAA tournament teams this year. Central Connecticut has a .302 team batting average with 54 homers and 56 stolen bases. The staff ERA is 5.02. Their ace is Dominic Neiman, who has a 12-2 record and 2.76 ERA. Big South Conference champ Campbell at 44-13 is likely going to come to Columbia with a desire to prove the NCAA selection committee wrong. The Campbell's RPI is 13, better than 3 of the 16 regional hosts, and it's the best of any team not named to host. Campbell has a .318 batting average, has hit 116 home runs, and has stolen 129 bases in 149 tries. Tyler Halstead has a .377 batting average, while Lawson Harrell is hitting .374 with 22 homers and 68 RBIs. The staff ERA for the Campbells is 4.53. Their pitchers have allowed 37 homers in 57 games. Cade Kuehler at 8-0 has a 2.82 ERA and has the best numbers among the starters. Campbell was 11-5 against NCAA tournament teams this year. NC State at 35-19 was listed as one of the last 4 in by NCAA tournament officials. The Pack had an up-and-down season and went 13-16 in the ACC and 8-16 against NCAA tournament teams. State has hit .297 as a team. Cannon Peoples, batting .346, has 12 of the Wolfpack's 89 homers. The Pack has a .437 staff ERA. I like the chances of both Clemson and Coastal Carolina advancing to the Super Regionals. But which Carolina team shows up for the regional? The one of the 34-6 start or the one that is staggered down the stretch? Regardless, I think it's great that a state as small as South Carolina gets 3 of the 16 regional host bids. Alabama and Florida have 2 regionals apiece, while no other state has more than 1. 8 regional hosts are from the SEC and 4 from the ACC. On another note, 8 North Carolina teams are in the tournament. There are some players with state ties in the tournament with other teams. Former Wofford star Nolan Hester is at Texas Tech. South Carolina transfer David Mendham is at Oklahoma State. And Charleston Southern transfer Ryan Waldschmidt is at Kentucky. I also mentioned Braden Galinsky at Army earlier. Thomas Frick out of Man High in Greenville and Reese Holbrook, the son of College of Charleston coach Chad Holbrook, are playing for North Carolina. Former Clemson player and assistant coach Randy Mazie has West Virginia in the Kentucky Regional. The number 4 seed there is Ball State, which is coached by former Greenville Braves infielder Rich Maloney. He played at Greenville Municipal Stadium in 1990 and 91. Mike Glavin, the brother of the Braves' great Tom Glavin, is the coach at Northeastern. All games in the NCAA tournament will air on some part of the ESPN family of networks. Most will be on ESPN, which requires a subscription and is different from just ACC Network Extra or SEC Plus. I'll have schedules posted every day at PalmettoStateBaseball.com and will post in-game score updates on Twitter at PalmettoBase as I have time. I was hoping some of the other state schools will get in as conference champions. College of Charleston, USC Upstate, and Wofford all were in contention for their tournaments. Charleston was hosting the CAA tournament but had a first-round loss to Delaware to put the Cougars in a hole. They won twice, but then they fell behind early 5-0 in Game 4 and were eliminated. The college finished 36-24. Both Upstate and Wofford suffered even crueler fates. Upstate lost to Campbell in its second game in the Big South tournament, but earned a rematch in the championship game, needing to beat the Campbells twice. The Spartans took a 2-1 lead into the bottom of the 8th inning of Game 1, only to have Campbell get back-to-back solo homers to take a 3-2 lead and win by that score. Still, Coach Mike McGuire's team set a program Division I record with 38 wins, got a Big South Conference school record 21 wins, and tied the school record of 22 wins at Harley Park. Wofford experienced the highs and lows of tournament play within a 24-hour period of the Southern Conference tournament in Greenville. Some daring base running in the 9th inning produced a 2-run rally for a 7-6 win over regular season champion on Sanford on Friday, putting the Terriers in the title round, needing just 1 win to advance. Sanford, meanwhile, faced the prospect of 3 games on Saturday as the conference tried to finish the tournament before predicted heavy rains arrived. The Bulldogs beat UNC Greensboro in the morning, advancing to face Wofford possible 2 games. Both times, the Bulldogs took the lead early against Wofford and held on to win. It was a long day for Sanford. Game 1 started at 8 a.m. Game 3 ended at 5:19 p.m. Wofford did finish the season with 40 wins, as second only to the 42 wins of last year in program history. In NCAA Division II, North Greenville beat Conference Carolina's nemesis Belmont Abbey twice to win the Southeast Super Regional, and advance to the Division II World Series in Cary, North Carolina, beginning this weekend. John Michael Fail had 4 home runs and 9 RBIs for Coach Landon Powell's team, which is 49-9 entering the tournament. They'll play their first game Sunday night against Augustana. Fail has hit 81 home runs, and he has, I believe it is, 337 RBIs for his career. Those are both NCAA Division II career records. The Crusaders are second seed for the 8-team double elimination tournament, which is modeled after the Division I College World Series. They're trying to win their second straight national title. Millersville, meanwhile, is the top seed with North Greenville second and Angelo State third. Millersville, to me, was a little bit of a surprise. North Greenville or Angelo State had been the top team most of the season. I don't know all the metrics that went into putting Millersville first seed, but it is what it is. And if you keep winning, it doesn't matter what your seed is. There are at least a couple of players with state links in the NAIA World Series this week. Former Charleston Southern player A.J. Sezikowski is at Georgia Gwinnett, and former Florence Darlington Tech Gary Laura has been a star at Southeastern for 2 seasons. He's really had a great career there after having a great career with the Stingers. Moving on, I've got a few thoughts on tournaments. I mentioned that I didn't think South Carolina merited a host spot because of its weak finish. NCAA officials admitted that the RPI may play too big a role in the selection process, but they selected no solution other than saying they need to do something. I would like to have seen Boston College or Campbell maybe get a bid, maybe even a UConn or West Virginia or Dallas Baptist to avoid such a, it would seem to be partiality toward the Southeast. Granted, a lot of the best baseball is played in the Southeast, but if the NCAA wants to spread the sport, they need to get some other teams that are hosting and get some fan excitement there. I'd really like to see the NCAA go away from the 4-team regional format and have 32 best-of-3 series at home field sites for first rounds. Then maybe they could go to an 8-team super regional to determine the World Series field, or 8 4-team super regionals to determine the World Series field. It would take the same amount of time and increased host opportunities for beyond the same 24 schools or so that it seems to rotate against. Talking about hosts, for the first time in quite a while, there are no regional hosts from the state of Texas. Moving on to the conference tournament, the only positive thing I see about the ACC's pool play format is that it doesn't have to squeeze 4 games into one day at the one site. I don't like that some teams don't have a championship to play for after the first game. In case you're unfamiliar, the ACC tiebreaker for determining pool winners is regular season finish, higher seeding, if you will. Each of the pools has 3 teams, so there's a possibility that all 3 teams go 1-1. If that happens, the highest seeded team of the 3 gets the bid. After Virginia Tech lost to Boston College to open its pool play, it meant the Hokies had nothing to play for in their game against Clemson the next round out. Clemson also had that game as being meaningless because regardless of how they did there, they could still win the pool by beating Boston College later on in the week, which of course they did. I'd prefer some steps for tiebreakers before going to seeding and a regular season finish. Maybe use fewest runs allowed, run differential, runs scored in the tournament as the first 3 tiebreakers. Then maybe head-to-head in meetings in the regular season, and finally, if still needed, then go with the regular season finish. But just don't make games totally meaningless after you've lost one. Southeastern Conference teams are wondering what to do next for its tournament when Oklahoma and Texas joined the league to move to 16 teams. I was listening to an announcer on the SEC Network's radio coverage suggesting playing 2 8-team tournaments at nearby sites. Think Hoover and Birmingham, about 10 or 12 miles apart, Birmingham's minor league stadium, and then have the winners meet in a championship series. Now, one variation on that could be a couple of 6-team tournaments. That way you still have 12 teams involved instead of 16 if you didn't want that many in. My preference would probably be to have 2 8-team tournaments at sites convenient to most of the teams. Say Memphis in the west and Hoover in the east, and then have the 2 winners meet at the site of the regular season overall champ for a best-of-3 series. That would involve cutting the conference schedule by a week, though, so I don't see that as flying. If the SEC wants to keep it as a 12-team tournament in one place, I would suggest it be single elimination through the first 3 rounds. The bottom 8 teams will be paired on Tuesdays, like it is now. Then the 4 Tuesday winners would play the top 4 teams on Wednesday. That would cut it down to 4 teams total. The 4 Wednesday players would be paired on Thursday to determine the two finalists, then have a best-of-3 series to determine the conference champion. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. My main gripe with the SEC tournament right now is the way it's set up, as a team could get into the semifinals without a loss, then be eliminated by a team that's already lost, that is already defeated. The SEC used to have an if-necessary game if both teams on one side of the bracket had a loss after the semifinals. I'd like to see that resolved in the SEC, or resumed, excuse me. The Sun Belt Conference still has that format, and both sides of the bracket use that second game on Saturday. Unfortunately for Coastal Carolina, that wound up leading to them being knocked out of the tournament championship race. The Big South Conference uses a 4-team tournament format modeled after the NCAA regionals. That is a nice way to get the tournament champ accustomed to what it will see the following week. I felt sorry for coaches, players, and staff at the Southern Conference as they tried to accelerate their conference tournament schedule to beat the weather. Kudos to Sanford for winning 3 9-inning games in one day. That does not happen very often. The CAA is the only conference involving a state team in Division I to use a 16 format. That turned out to be a good thing this weekend, as inclement weather on the South Carolina coast created a lot of schedule juggling so they could finish on time. This is the 16th podcast of the 2023 season. If you like this podcast, please follow and share a link with your baseball fan friends. If you like PalmettoStateBaseball.com's coverage of college baseball in South Carolina, please let me know. Email me at rudyjones@PalmettoStateBaseball.com with comments, criticism, compliments, or anything you want to say. You can also comment on posts on the website. React to my post on Twitter. As I said, I'm active on Twitter at Palmetto Base. As always, I'd like to invite anyone in the Greenville area of South Carolina to come worship with me at Reedy River Baptist Church, 871 North 25 Bypass between Travelers Rest and the Furman University Golf Course. Worship time is 10:30. Our pastor is Reverend Josh Slatton. We have a mostly traditional worship style. If you live in the Columbia area, visit Woodfield Park Baptist Church. It's at 1834 Morning Glow Lane. It's off I-77 near Fort Jackson. My friend Jeff Phillips is pastor there, and Sunday morning worship starts at 11 a.m. Remember, Jesus loves you. Thanks again for listening for the May 29th episode of the Palmetto State Baseball Podcast. This is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying, it's a beautiful day for baseball. Let's play too.